Garbage Mammal stood in shocked horror as the knocking continued. "Who is it? What do you want?" Garbage Mammal tried to mumble the words, but the ghosts kept knocking. He went back to his house and dialed the number. "Hello?" Garbage Mammal turned to the boys. "I can't. They won't let me."
Okay, so how do we keep them from getting in? Let's cover all the windows, the door, even the heater vent.
Sledge put a dish towel over the dishwasher vent and leaned it against the door. It would block anyone from seeing in.
We just need something heavy to put on top of it.
Sledge said. "Door, you've got to think. There's nowhere for them to go now," Garbage Mammal said.
What about that garbage bin we threw all the cat litter out of? Why did we throw it out of the house?
"Oh no, the ghost cats will know it's empty now. They'll be all over that."
Yeah, you're right. Let's go get that.
As the two boys ran to the old wooden trash bin, Garbage Mammal saw the door was now very narrow. He looked around at his surroundings. Garbage's house was a 2-story, but the attic was the only room upstairs. The stairs were hidden from sight, so they would have to go up there to get the lid off the bin. When the boys came back with the lid, the knocking was still going on. Garbage Mammal put the lid down on top of the bin. He jumped into the hole and pulled it down. The boys rushed over to cover the hole, and Garbage Mammal shivered as the cold wind blew through the now empty bin. He was alone, but he knew he wasn't alone. The ghosts were here, and they would have their revenge. The boys were standing in silence. It was almost midnight, and they both shivered.
Okay, let's go back to bed.
Sledge said. "I don't want the ghosts in my room." They snuggled down under the blankets and went to sleep. The next day, the boys woke up, got dressed, ate breakfast, and went outside. The sun was barely up when Sledge came running back inside.
They're back.
He cried. He grabbed his brother by the arm and came outside.
Come on.
Sledge and Garbage Mammal ran over to where the boys were playing.
Let's play a game.
Sledge shouted. "They haven't been around all night, so we don't need to worry about that. We'll play that game we did last night." The boys followed Sledge's lead, and the game was on. The boys soon forgot about the ghosts and started chasing each other around the yard. As they ran, they heard something on the wind.
No,
Sledge shouted.
there's another one.
They both stopped and looked in the direction of the voice.
There's someone there.
Sledge cried. They started running towards the voice, and the boys' hearts sank. It was the man they ran over to yesterday.
Let's scare them away.
Sledge shouted.
The ghost will go away.
The boys ran as fast as they could, but the ghost jumped onto the tire of a passing car and started bouncing up and down. The boys heard the ghost's laughter on the wind as the car drove away.
No!
Sledge shouted. The ghost jumped onto the back of an abandoned car, then jumped onto a car that was headed towards them. The boys ran over to the abandoned car, and the ghost jumped off and disappeared into the darkness. Sledge ran back to the house with the others, still shouting at the ghost. He was yelling so loud that he didn't hear Garbage Mammal's footsteps behind him. He didn't hear him scream for him. He didn't even hear the yelling coming from his own mouth. But as he ran towards the yard, the ghost jumped up to greet him. It stuck out its hand and said, "Hi!" Sledge screamed in fright and started running again. Garbage Mammal ran after them. He hadn't seen it and didn't want to think that he was following him. But it had seen him and followed him. He was scared. He tried to tell himself that it was all a dream and that he was just going to wake up any second. But he knew that it wasn't. The boys were staring at the wall, where the ghost used to jump up at them every night. They didn't look scared or angry or confused. They just looked shell-shocked. The ghost's gaze turned to the boys, and he smiled. "Did you find us?" the ghost asked. Sledge and Garbage Mammal glanced at each other and nodded. The boys ran over to the doorway and stared at the ghost. "Are you real?" the ghost asked. He was suddenly furious. His anger came over him so fast that the boys didn't even see it coming. "You found us," he roared. "That's your job. That's what you're supposed to do." The boys looked at each other. They didn't understand. The ghost just ranted and raved. He didn't seem angry or dangerous, just angry. Garbage Mammal cleared his throat. There's one more thing." The ghost stopped ranting for a moment. "Why did you find us?" Sledge didn't answer.
We found the ghost!
He shouted.
And there's one more thing. We didn't kill it. It wasn't evil. We didn't torture it. We just made it comfortable.
The ghost smiled. "You're doing it right," he said. "You should find out about the past. There's some stuff that you should know." The ghost pointed to the shelf. It was still half full of newspapers. Sledge took one and stared at it. The ghost pointed at the letters on the newspaper.
Look,
He said.
if there's one thing I've learned about, it's your history.
The ghost was right. Sledge couldn't believe he'd missed it. He took a look at the newspaper and was horrified.
Don't tell me.
The ghost ignored him.
Oh man.
He said,
I know. They were drowning in a very turbulent river. It was about to have another major flood. Some men heard the voices of the boys. They rushed to them, but the water was moving so fast they couldn't even see the boys. The men did see the ghost and the boys. They also saw something else. The water was going to be so turbulent that it was going to blow out the bridge. It was going to tear it apart. The men knew that they had to save the boys.
The men had to save them because they thought that if they didn't, the future of the civilization would be lost.
The men and the ghost all went into the water and faced the current head on. The water put on the men, but they just kept swimming. One of them, it was you, Sledge, was badly injured. You were about to die. And then suddenly, the wave hit them and knocked them all out. Sledge woke up. He felt something wet on his chest. He looked down. It was blood. His mother had stopped caring for him. She'd thrown him out of the house. His father had divorced her. He was in jail. He had no real friends and was going to die. He laid there, sobbing quietly, thinking about everything that had happened in his short life. Finally, he felt someone touching his head. His eyes went wide as the ghost said, "Hey, that's not really the blood from your father's wound. If I really cared for you,"
the ghost started.
"then I wouldn't have left you alone. I would have taught you about the past. I would have made you understand why I'm really here. I'm not from the future. I'm not the ghost of the future. I'm here to let you know about the past. I'm here to let you know about your father. I'm here to tell you what he did to you.
The ghost chuckled.
It's not going to be easy, and you're going to have to listen carefully, but I've got an important story to tell you. The day after you're born, your father is going to shoot your mother in the head. So he did. I'm sure he wasn't happy about it either. Your father was pretty dumb. He was really angry with your mother because she had a kid. I'm surprised he was able to handle that anger for as long as he did, especially in the days of violent crime. So your father went to a shop with a big gun and a big mouth. He started threatening to kill whoever made him angry. That pretty much led him to killing a bunch of people. They kept calling him John Doe, but everyone knew that he wasn't. Everyone knew that he didn't have the right to kill. They made him get the gun. They made him get out and look for the men and women he was going to kill. You were going to be the victim, but your mother brought you back to life, which made them stop him. They had no idea what they were doing. They had no idea how to take a life. That was a mistake that they had to learn, but it didn't have to be fatal. They would have to learn how to kill without taking a life. Your mother was right. They would have to learn how to kill without killing. So you were going to do your best to learn from them. There's nothing you can do. You can't make them like you. You can't make them human. You are a human. You have a mom. You have a dad. You have a family. You have your own identity. You are the human that is going to make the world a better place. You are the human that is going to make the world a better place. And if you don't do it, you won't be here in the first place.
So you can't make them like you. You can't make them stop. You can't make them be human. They aren't like you, and you aren't like them.
So you're just gonna do it yourself. You're just gonna be better.
How would you suggest I make them better?
Stop playing the brain game. You know what you need to do, and you are going to do it.
What if they don't want to? What if they just want to get to know me? What if they just want to be my friend? What if they don't want to have anything to do with me?
Who would I be without them? Would I just have a mom and a dad that couldn't stand me?
How would you suggest I solve this problem?
Stop talking like I'm the one who has to do all the work. You aren't the only one here.
You should feel sorry for me. If I do it right, if I really succeed, I'm not going to feel sorry for you. I'll feel sorry for the guys who make me stop. I'll feel sorry for the guys who can't be my friends. I'll feel sorry for the guys who hurt me, who are just doing it to be mean, because they're so insecure that they need to hurt me.
But I'll feel sorry for myself when they've hurt me, and we've made everything perfect for me and for them. Do you understand? Do you understand? They don't understand, so you won't ask them to. You won't explain it to them, because that would just get upset. You won't show them, so you don't have to deal with them. You won't tell them, so you don't have to answer. I guess you think I'm too much of a loser, but what are you thinking?
I don't know what you mean. So I'll just pretend like I don't.
I'll tell you what I mean, and you'll understand when you've said it back to me about 50 times, 100 times, until we know exactly what the other means.
Sledge ran back to his house with the others, still shouting at the ghost.
You mean you can be my friends? You mean you want to be my friends? You mean you would be my friends? Why does he keep saying the same thing?
Out of his blood. His mother had stopped caring for him. She'd thrown him out of the house. His father had divorced her. He was in jail. He had...
This part is gonna be the worst part.
This is so sad.
Oh,
But I've got an important story to tell you. The day after you're born, your father is going to shoot your mother. Let me tell you a sad story. There once was a boy who died.
And then he woke up the next morning with serious stomach
Hey,
ache.
future Andrew. Let me tell you a sad story of my intestinal issues. It all started with a trip to Disneyland in November 2014. I had a great time and came back with a stomach infection. I was taking antibiotics and ate my first cheeseburger in a while and a little too much fried chicken. I ate a cheeseburger in the park, which I don't do anymore because I realized I have celiac and can't eat most of the cheeseburgers in that place, but it was good. I was up until like 2 a.m. that night, and then we had to fly out the next day. And I was already thinking I had diarrhea because I wasn't feeling very well. And then my stomach started hurting the next day, and I went to the doctors. My first thought was, what the hell is wrong with me? Is my pancreas messed up? Has it failed? I go for these tests, and they show nothing unusual. My second thought was, I have Crohn's disease. It's in the intestines. It's not like it was in a painful way or anything. It was more of a dull pain, like you had to go to the bathroom. So then I had to be put on a steroid, anti-inflammatories, and I started getting more and more severe diarrhea, so I had to be put on medication again and stay in bed for 10 days. So I went on a 3-month journey that led to not being able to eat at all. I started taking liquids and slowly added solids, eventually getting to the point where I could only eat rice and some bread, but no other solid food. And that's when I discovered an awful, awful thing. When I was on this antibiotic round, in the hospital, a nurse looked at me in the eye and said, "You are the first person to have a stomach infection in my family of 11, and I'm going to give you this drug in case we need to do..." That's the end.